Hi friends, welcome back with new amazing video from Top Movies Recap. Today, I'm going to recap a 1976 sport and drama film titled Rocky. Spoiler warning, watch out and take care. The film starts with Rocky fighting Spider Rico in a prize fight at a small chapel on November 25, 1975. For the first few rounds, the battle is quite uneventful. Before the second round begins, Rocky and Spider rise from their corners, and the action resumes after they receive instructions from their corner men. When a crowd sees Spider, they feel agitated. After recovering from the blow, Rocky pursues Spider and kills him. Rocky walks home through the trash-strewn sidewalks of Frankfort Avenue in the crime-ridden Kensington district on a cold, dark night. He then examines a childhood photograph of himself before retrieving ice from the freezer and applying it to the cut Spider had caused him before retiring to his bed. Rocky is walking down the docks whistling with a stick in his hand, collecting money for his boss Gazzo, a local loan shark, when he comes across a man riding a forklift who hurries away when he sees Rocky. Rocky accepts the money and issues a warning instead of punishing the deadbeat. Rocky tries to defend himself on the street, calm but still enraged about why he didn't break the man's thumb as he requested, and Gazzo is suspicious. Gazzo warns Rocky that failing to do what he says will harm Gazzo's reputation in the area. Rocky is left on the side of the road as Gazzo gets into his car and drives away. When Rocky discovers about Adrian, he screams at him, calling her a loser who can't take care of herself. Rocky offers to take Adrian out on a date because Paulie rarely leaves the house. With his beer in hand, Paulie goes away. Rocky stays at the bar, drinking his own beer and watching TV, where he notices Apollo Creed, the world heavyweight champion. Rocky and the bartender continue to discuss him until Rocky departs. The following day, Apollo Creed and his trainer Tony meet with Miles Jurgens, a fight promoter in New York City, to discuss potential opponents for the year's biggest fight, which is set to take place on New Year's Day. When it looks that there are no other contenders left, Apollo has an epiphany. He'll be pitted against a small-time underdog for a shot at the title. After everyone has agreed on the strategy, it is implemented. Meanwhile, Gazzo and Buddy drop Rocky off at his house after his last collecting job, where they talk about Adrian. Rocky is baffled as to how they found out about him and Adrian. Rocky lunges at Buddy, who taunts him even more by calling him a retard and comparing him to a zoo, but Gazzo separates them. He pays Rocky $50 for his date with Adrian. Before rushing away, Buddy advises Rocky to leave Adrian off at the zoo. On Thanksgiving night, Rocky and Paulie are driving home, and Paulie is pleading with Rocky to get him a collector position with Gazzo because he despises his current job at a meatpacking plant. At Paula's residence, Adrian is preparing Thanksgiving dinner. She comes out of the kitchen to greet Paulie, but she has no idea that Rocky is accompanying him. She grows agitated and flees to her bedroom when Paulie approaches her to speak with her. Adrian claims to be cooking a turkey for Thanksgiving, so Paulie lets her go and instructs her to spend the evening with Rocky. Paulie enters the kitchen and pulls the turkey out of the oven, tossing it out the back door. As she sobs, Paulie orders Adrian to go. Rocky encourages him to forget about the date, but Paulie insists on speaking with him. Rocky goes up to her door and knocks, but no one answers. When he asks if she wants to go out with him and have a nice time, she opens the door all dressed up and ready to go. When they look around and see that the rink is abandoned, the maintenance worker informs them that the rink is closed for the evening. For 10 minutes, Rocky pays him $10 and they have the entire rink to themselves. Adrian is skating while Rocky runs behind her, telling her about his fights and how special this place is to him. Rocky and Adrian return home after their date, but she is scared to walk inside his apartment. Rocky assures her that everything will be fine, and she walks alongside him. Adrian admits that she's never been inside a man's residence, which makes her feel uneasy. Rocky arrives at Mickey's gym the next day, and Mick informs him that Jurgens' office is called, presumably seeking sparring partners. Rocky tells himself the same thing, and an enraged Mick yells at him. Rocky inquires as to why Mick has been giving him the cold shoulder for so long, but Mick refuses to respond. Rocky declines Jurgens' offer of a New Year's Day battle with Creed. Jurgens tells Rocky that Creed shows him as his opponent and that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win the heavyweight belt. Rocky ponders it for a few moments. Paulie tells Rocky to break his legs and win the fight. Rocky claims that the taunts do not bother him. Adrian tells Paulie that she has a good chance of winning. Paulie stands up and storms out of the room, cursing loudly. Adrian takes a walk outdoors with Rocky as he prepares to go. Before departing, Rocky tells Adrian that what he saw on TV pained him on the inside. Mick pays Rocky a visit after hearing about his shot at the title and begins telling him about his days as a featherweight fighter in the 1930s and the injuries he received. He tells Rocky that he wants to work as a manager for him. Rocky tells him that he tried to enlist Mick's help years ago but was turned down. Mick gets ready to go while Rocky sits in his bathroom defeated. Rocky begins ranting at Mick about his plea for aid after Mick has departed. Rocky approaches Mick halfway down the street and apologizes. Rocky gets up early the next day to go for a morning run. Half a dozen raw eggs are consumed by him. Rocky begins his sprint through Philadelphia's streets and towards the end tries to dash up the Philadelphia Art Museum's stairwell but is unable to do so due to his lack of fitness and breath. Rocky later pays Paulie a visit at his meat processing plant. They talk about Adrian, and Paulie asks sarcastically if Rocky is sleeping with his sister. Rocky gets so furious that he reveals the actual reason he can't talk to Gazzo about hiring Paulie. She talks too much. A furious Paulie taunts Rocky by striking a big side of beef dangling from the ceiling when Rocky states that he is ready to go due to the cold and the stench of the meat factory. Rocky takes a step forward and begins hitting the meat, causing the ribs to crack. At Paulie's house, Adrian cares after Rocky's sliced up hands so they don't hit the meat. She approaches him, but he pushes her away, telling her that fooling around is not permitted during training. Adrian rises and heads to the kitchen, apparently sad. Rocky rises and follows her, apologizes, and the two embrace. A few days later, Rocky is jogging back to his apartment building and Adrian is waiting for him on the steps with a surprise. Rocky Buckus, a huge bulldog mastiff, was purchased from a pet store and given to her. Rocky and Buckus begin running together a few days later. One day, Rocky and Buckus arrive at Paula's workplace to find a TV news van parked in the parking lot. Rocky and Paulie go inside to meet with the news reporter who wants to see Rocky's meat training demonstration. He starts jabbing at the meat as the news camera focuses on him. Paulie is visibly inebriated on Christmas Eve as she walks home. Rocky and Adrian have already arrived and are sitting in front of the television, watching a Christmas film. They began chatting about Paulie and what he performed at the slaughterhouse during his publicity stint. Overhearing the conversation, an intoxicated Paulie enters the room and threatens the two of them with eviction from his home. When they refuse to go, Paulie gets a baseball bat and threatens to break both of Rocky's arms if he doesn't leave. He starts swinging at a lamp before smashing the end table adjacent to Rocky and Adrian. Paulie begins shouting, claiming that he has never wronged Rocky and that he even allowed him to date his sister. Paulie then tells the truth about why he despises Adrian so much and starts slamming objects with his bat. Paulie yells at Adrian that she owes him money, but Adrian yells back that she is the one who looks after Paulie. Paulie makes another derogatory remark about Adrian, which sends her crying to her bed. Rocky grabs Paulie violently and prepares to hit him, but he immediately sees that Paulie is too inebriated and weak to fight. Rocky is back in the gym with Mick and Mike a couple of days later, training. Mick presents Rocky to Al Silvani, their cut man, following the session. As Mick and Al talk, Rocky exits the ring and starts striking a heavy bag. Rocky is approached by Paulie, who offers him a position as an advertiser. Rocky advises him to profit from his name if he can. Then there's Rocky hitting the meat again in the meat factory. Rocky then sprints up the art museum's stairwell, making it all the way to the top this time. Rocky and Adrian are in bed at his apartment the next night, but Rocky is unable to sleep and gets out of bed, puts on his coat, and walks to the Spectrum Arena. Rocky takes a seat in the middle of the ring and surveys the scene, noting how well decorated and prepared the venue is for the bout. When Jurgens arrives, Rocky informs him that the stripes on his shorts and the large painting of him are incorrect, but Jurgens rejects the claim, claiming that Rocky will put on a spectacular show for the world. As Adrian slowly awakens, Rocky returns home and sits down upset on the bed. He assures her that he will never be able to defeat Apollo and that no one has ever gone the distance with him. The year is 1976, and it is New Year's Day. Rocky and Apollo are both preparing for the bout on the night of the fight. When Rocky realizes it's time, he leaves Adrian in the locker room where she wishes him luck. When he's ready for the ring, Rocky, Mick, and Mike stand by as Apollo emerges dressed as George Washington as a tribute to the American bicentennial. He walks down to the ring and dons an Uncle Sam hat. Rocky avoids Apollo's haymaker and strikes him instead, knocking him out. The audience bursts in applause, Apollo stands, and the fight resumes, with the two trading blows and dodging the majority of them. As the rounds progress, Rocky and Apollo become increasingly cut up and bruised. Rocky's right eye is inflamed and he can't open it. Rocky is becoming exhausted and in excruciating pain as he slams body blows at Apollo. In round 14, Apollo knocks Rocky out and tells him to stay down until the count is up. Adrian enters from the dressing room and looks at the ring, confident in Rocky's recovery. Rocky regains his feet and Apollo, who is circling the ring, notices Rocky's standing with dismay and demands more. Rocky leaps to his feet and punches Apollo in the right chest twice, fracturing his ribs. Rocky dodges Apollo's attack and jabs him twice in the right chest, breaking his ribs. Apollo, now weary, throws a punch at Rocky. The fighters are returned to their corners as the bell chimes, signaling the end of the round. Rocky claims he can't see anything and requests that Mick dismember him. As the bell for the 15th and last round rings, Rocky and Apollo take their time until Apollo tags Rocky in the face. Rocky enters the action as Apollo defends the right side of his ribs. Rocky wins the last 10 seconds of the round by thrashing Apollo and pinning him to the ropes. At this time, the entire crowd is chanting Rocky's name over and over. When the bell tolls, the fight is over. After Apollo informs Rocky that there will be no rematch, Rocky declares that he does not want a rematch. The ring is flooded with reporters and both boxers' managers. A reporter quizzes Rocky about the fight as he cheers for Adrian. As Adrian reaches the ring, Jurgens announces the fight a draw, with the winner selected by a split decision. Apollo retains his heavyweight title and is declared the winner by default. A blinded Rocky does not appear to hear or be angered by the fight's outcome as he continues to chant for Adrian. Paulie is prohibited from reaching the ring when Adrian comes at ringside. Adrian storms into the room, sprinting over to Rocky, who embraces him and professes his love for him. We hope you enjoyed our video from today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel to receive notifications of new and interesting videos.